because that's when I went, I love this woman.
Yeah.
I have never heard that analogy ever explained in that way. So I don't want to ruin this for anyone. So you take the wheel on this and drive that car.
All right. I'll drive this one on. So, and I could be a little bratty and say to you, well, it's a tool in my book that's coming out on the 7th of August. So you'll have to buy it and read it. But I know that you all will anyway. So I'm going to just share it with you. This is a gazillion-dollar tool. No, I'm kidding. It is, I'll tell you, it is the crux of what keeps us unhappy. So as I said, if you have the voice, the critical voice, it's even stronger if you've had a dysfunctional past. And that voice, it's so important to acknowledge the people that are running your life. Okay, so we think we're running our life. We really aren't. The analogy is this: we have a life car, and there's also that saying where if you hear voices in your head, like when I went to school for clinical psych, if you hear voices in your head, that means you're going to go crazy or you're crazy, right? I'm here to tell you that if you do not identify the voices in your head, it will drive you crazy off of the life cliff. So when you're driving, I want you to pay attention when you're driving through life and you're about to go on a sales call. And the voice comes in that says, well, you're really horrible at this. You're never going to make a living at this. It's not going to work. I don't even know why you're going to try a podcast. Who wants to listen to you anyways? I mean, come on, really? You're really not, you're not all that, I had someone actually say that, and it activated that you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? And that is my internalized, guess who? My mom. So I call that voice Rose. Guess what my mom's name was, right? Rose. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not knocking Rose. I usually actually say change the name a little bit. So I call her Rosie. And Rosie says to me all that I'm not worthy of. And I listen to that, and I allow her to influence what I do and not do. Okay. So the first step in, being happy and taking the detonation out of your past is to not throw the critic out of the car and run over it on the 405. There are people who say, kill your critic. No, your critic was born out of a coping device so that you would be alive. If you think about it, your critic was actually it kept you out of harm's way when you were young, because it would say, oh, don't say that, right? Or don't do that. And it was a protection device. So the first thing is to talk to the internalized critic and say, thank you very much. I hear you. I know you're trying to protect me. And so you think you're protecting me from rejection, from trying this, whatever it is, job, relationship. But you've been talking a long time. You've been sitting here driving. You've got to be tired. You haven't had a vacation for 3 decades. And you know what? I wasn't strong enough to say I can drive. But I am now. And I got this. And the way I'm getting this is I am going to keep my word. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And that strengthens my balanced, centered Dr. Marissa. And so, Rosie, you can sit down. First, I do hear you. If we don't acknowledge that we hear the critic will keep talking because it wants validation. So you acknowledge, I got it, I hear you. I actually have my clients write down all of the critical statements so they have it in writing so that when the critic starts, the balance-centered you says, hold on, have you said this before? Yep, it's number 8. We got this. We heard it. It's not true. And I got this. So when I say that, the more I say it, I'm soothing my internal critic. The easier and the quieter it gets in the car. So I can move her to the passenger seat. Now, there's another voice that works in tandem with the critic called the brat. Now, my internal brat, Agnes, says things like, so Rosie will say, shouldn't eat that. You're going to be fat again. You know, I saved you from being fat when you were 13 years old. I told you that if you keep eating like that, I took you to a doctor who said, if you keep eating, you're going to be 200 pounds and you're going to be fat and ugly and clumsy. So I heard that message for 18 years. So every time I want to eat something that I shouldn't, that voice gets activated, the critic. And then my brat, who's very strong, says, you're not the boss of me. I can eat that donut if I want to. Screw you. You know, it's your voice that makes me want to eat anyways. I hate you. So just for that, I'm going to eat it. Okay? So there's the battle between the brat or, no, I'm not going to make that call. I don't feel like making that call now. I don't feel like finishing this podcast. I don't feel like finishing the book. I don't feel like all these things. And so the brat, if the brat's driving the car, you know, you go into, and the people that have the strongest brats are usually perfectionists because there's a constant fight between you should do it and I don't want to do it. Okay. So perfectionism, procrastination, and paralysis. So brats will end up driving your car into a bed under the covers eating bonbons. Okay. So that's the brat. So the critic's driving you into off the cliff, and the brat's keeping you in bed eating bonbons. So the two of them are constantly interacting, and it's not until you stop and say, balance, center, Dr. Marissa, and same thing. Agnes, I get it. You don't feel like doing this. You don't feel like, or you really want to eat that. But guess what? We want to be healthy. And it's not because Rose is yelling. It's because this is our decision. This is what we want to do. And you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and a healthy body isn't built in a day. And we're just going to do this, you know, one less donut at a time or one 15-minute walk at a time. And so the strength, and again, how do you grow that balance center, Dr. Marissa, is you keep your word. If I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And so I build more and more strength so that this part of me is stronger than the critic who's in the passenger seat. And then I always put the brat right in the back seat, but on this side, so I can keep an eye on her and not, you know, let her get out of control. So, but you don't want to kill the brat either, right? Because the opposite of the brat is fun. You know, that's the fun side of us. That's the, let's go, you know, jump in the fountain. Let's go, you know, play a joke on so-and-so. And that's an important part of the brat that we also want to say, okay, I get that you're reacting and I understand, but it's not the time. But I promise that, you know, after this podcast is over, we'll go to the beach and we'll play, you know, then it's okay to do. So that's the brat. And there's one last one, and that's the sad one. And the sad one is the one who got beat. The sad one is the one who got molested. The sad one is the one that got their legs broken, or the sad one is the one who got teased, who got bullied. And so we all internalize that sad one. My sad one was named Sarah. And we that sad one gets pressed down. Don't cry. If you cry, don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. Or it's not that big of a deal. You know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Don't cry. Big boys don't cry. Pull your big girl panties up. Don't cry. So the sad one never really gets to express until midlife opportunity. So I have a lot, I don't call it crisis. So I have a lot of clients who come at the time of midlife opportunity and they say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't stop crying. I'm crying all the time. And they go to the doctor, who of course gives them antidepressants, which then masks what you're feeling. Okay. And you might feel better, but then you're not sad when you're supposed to be sad, right? You're flatline. You're like, I'm fine, right? You know what fine stands for? Effed up, irrational, neurotic, and emotional. Okay. So we have these people walking around, I'm fine. So, right. So when they come and they say they're crying all the time, I'm like, good. That means you are allowing your sad one to express, and it's not going to be forever, but she's not been allowed to be sad for a long, long time. That's why when tragedy happens, someone close to you dies, like unexpectedly, don't say you're okay, cry, lean on people. That first year is a tough year. It's just going to be a tough year. Don't go on any medication to stop the pain. You have to feel the pain fully. And that's what the exercises in the book do, is allow you to feel that pain fully so that you clean it out. It's because most of us, we press down all of that pain. And what happens to a garbage disposal truck when the lever and you're compacting the trash is when you compact it enough, it turns into liquid. And then you compact it a little more, it turns into gas. So all of this past pain is leaking gas all over around midlife crisis and midlife opportunity. And you don't even know it's there. That you don't smell your own gas, but everybody around you smells your gas, right? Because you're saying things like, I'm not angry, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, whatever you think, but you're not aware of it. And so it's a beautiful time to heal from things that you let get infected down in the dark. So it's a light process. We're uncovering, we're shoveling out the shiitake, and then we find our unique seed that is the whole being that we are, that's beautiful, whole, and complete, and connected to the powers that create the planets and the sand that is not alike one grain, or the leaves or the grass, and then we shovel the shiitake back as fertilizer, recognizing that all of that pain helped to chisel us into who we are. How's that? Did I do okay?
I can only say Shay Shay so many times. And that's another big wow, Shay Shay.
So I guess the Janie's the, now do you understand why Melody went ballistic? That was the whole model that she liked.
Yes, and there's a lot to unpack there. You talked about our core belief system, which is the BS, which can be our automatic thoughts that can drive us in that car. Yeah. And then we have to come into awareness of that dark passenger, that brat in the back, and not run from them, which I think is an awesome thing that people need to hear, is to not run, but embrace, because we have to go through the pain to find our purpose, to get to that place of happiness. Yeah. But I also like the midlife opportunity, because we have enough history behind us where we can now see a pattern. And in order for us to really look forward, because that U-shaped happiness curve says we should be the happiest at age 52, right? So when we get to that place, we have enough that we can rewrite the script.
Absolutely.
But you also talked about breaking the generations, the generational first, looking back into understand. And I'm a big believer that we have to have that PhD in our own history. We have to look back at our own history to understand why we do the things that we do so that we can move forward. So I am just so looking forward to your book, and I can understand why Melanie was like, this has to be our first guest.
Yay.
Yes. Yay. Awesome. We just are looking forward to that. So when you think about, there's a lot to unpack, but when you think about the three main keys that our audience should walk away from hearing some of the things that you shared with us, what do you want to tell them?
Well, first is there's nothing wrong with you. There really is nothing wrong with you. So if you have a voice in your head that is constantly telling you there's something wrong with you, I want you to use that same process, identify who it is, give them a name, write down all the crap that they say, and then begin to grow that balance-centered you, because that's really the only way to make and turn that corner into a